Hey y'all, welcome to this week's episode of Ducking Reality. In the pond with me today is, or returning to the pond, I should say, is now Dr. Hannah. Hi.
Hello.
You were on an episode, Finding Joy with Hannah, where you shared some of your story with us. And just, do you want to and since then, you've graduated with your doctorate.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah, I graduated, I think now 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Successfully defended my dissertation, did the fun ceremony in San Francisco, and have been sending cute little emails like, I actually go by doctor, not miss.
Dr. Hannah in the house. So just to catch everyone up, you grew up in like a really strict Baptist house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved out here and you kind of remade your life in your really your own terms.
Yeah.
And completely did kind of a 180 from how you were raised to be.
Absolutely. So I moved here in July or August of 2019. It was the first time I had ever lived by myself, and then was pretty much immediately put into COVID. So it was, I literally had never had that much time with only me. And so I really got to decide who I am and who I want to be without all of the pressures I had, grown up with, all those outside forces that suggested there was only one option. But all by myself in a COVID-scared world, I was able to spend a lot of time working on me.
Yeah. I think I did a lot of that too at that time. Like moving to California, I moved here in 2020, like February of 2020. I moved to the island in April of 2020. And so I really spent like the whole first year here, other than like doing some work, really by myself. And I think that has really shaped how I got to hit this next level of like healing and growth. And I'm still working on some of it and getting comfortable with other people being uncomfortable with my decisions. Like that has been the hardest because all of those outside forces felt so strong when I was like home back in Boston with my family, and just like their opinions felt like they always were their facts. And like, I don't know, I always joke that if I ever wrote a book about growing up, it would be called My Four Mothers, because my mom and her sisters were always such a force and like always thought their opinion was the most important one.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up with, not only were their opinions like number one, I didn't know there was any other option. Yeah. And so I was actually recently talking with my therapist about how, like imagining back in those moments where I was a child and like sitting in my room trying to figure out who I am when I'm not performing what clearly everybody wants. Yeah. And not knowing that there were other options. I just knew the one I was playing didn't feel real. And at 30-something, I'm starting to figure out that there are other options. I have to go figure it out. Yeah. Go find it.
Part of the reason I think I want to do this podcast so bad is to find out like when people realized there was other options. Do you know what I mean? Like to be like, how did you know? How did you know that you could just like drop out of school and go do this stuff, or like you could move to a different state and start over? Like, how did you know that was an option?
Unfortunately, I don't think I have a great answer to that. A lot of times it was forced. I adapted due to the lack of choice I had, but I mean, I did absolutely choose to come here by myself and figure it out.
And you were in school all of that time too, right?
Yep. I moved here specifically because I got into the University of San Francisco.
And what was remind me your dissertation topic?
Yeah. So my dissertation topic was focused around the intersection of whiteness and womanhood and the way that white women further white supremacy, both in their enactments of whiteness and of womanhood, and how not being aware of it or not knowing is actually part of the ongoing cycle, I guess, of white women furthering white supremacy
I feel like it's
in the United States.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a very timely topic. And so basically your doctorate is basically in DEI studies.
Yes.
And so if the government is now saying like there is no DEI, where does that leave someone like you? And like, how did we get here, doctor?
Yeah, so having a doctorate in international and multicultural studies is not the immediate career asset I had hoped it would be due to the times. The last question you asked, how did we get here? That's the most confident answer I have. I think that we're here because we've never, as a society, as a country, addressed the original issues. So we are a country founded on genocide and slavery, and then we pretend we're not.
Yeah,
and
we whitewash our history.
Yeah, absolutely. And like any negative thing, it becomes more and more toxic. The less we talk about it, the less we acknowledge it, the less we do anything to help with it. And so a lot of us were like, congratulations, we're post-racial now that we've had a Black president. And the truth is that's never, we can't be post-racial when we refuse to talk about the fact that it's a racial society, a hierarchy that is embedded with race and class and gender. And when we don't know the root issue, the root cause, the underlying belief, it's hard to address it specifically.
Do you think it has to do with like the white fragility? Is that why like people cling to there's not enough for everyone?
Yeah, I think that it's a very harmful lie that there is only justice for a certain number of people or peace, there's a limited amount. I think that where white fragility plays a part in it, I think that we're just not comfortable talking about race or racism in a way that is in any way beneficial. So we will say somebody is a racist, and if they are a racist, then we don't have to think about what they're talking about. And I think it'd be way more accurate to use racism not as a attribute you assign to something or someone, but rather, I think it's Beverly Tatum who calls it smog. Like you breathe it in, you breathe it out. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing. You are impacted by it, and your decisions are impacted by race, whether or not you choose to be aware of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we all have biases, but it's like what you and how you, like if you're aware of those biases or not.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're then trying to do better about them versus like leaning into it and being like, oh, it's X, Y, or Z color person's fault, or like, I don't know. I've never understood the hating side. I mean, I grew up Boston's famous for our racism, unfortunately, but I didn't grow up like that. To me, it was always more classist than racist. But I grew up also in like the kind of middle class to lower middle class, like, maybe upper at times, like school, but lower in community. I don't know. But I just didn't hate someone because of the way they looked.
Yeah.
Like that to me was just stupid. And when people still kind of cling to those ideas now, I'm like, but how, like, there's so much data about how the more diverse you are, the more money you make, the more of this, the more of that. Like, there's so many more positives than negatives.
Yeah.
And it matters to me, like, the type of person you are versus where you come from. Like, almost to a fault. Like, I'm terrible at telling someone's, like, race or ethnicity or, like, I'm just like, oh, I don't care. Like, and it I think comes across somewhat insulting sometimes. Like, oh, I don't know if you're Like, but I don't, because I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't, you're Korean versus, you know, just even trying to think of which ones to compare to. It's just like, I don't,
Yeah. I struggle at times knowing the balance between bringing up race, like FYI, I'm okay talking about it. You know, I'm aware that it has implications on this, regardless of how I feel.
Right.
But there are other times where I'm like, but, you know, I don't care. I just want you to know that if you care, I'm aware of why you would care.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I worry like I'm overcorrecting because I'm a white woman, or then like undercorrecting, and I'm always like wanting to do the best thing for everyone involved, and being like just trying to make sure I'm an ally, but also like trying to be chill about it because I don't want to be like going out of my way to make someone else uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's such a weird dynamic to sometimes walk.
Yeah.
And so I don't always think that we talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's a weird dynamic, partially because we won't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know what my parents or grandparents were doing during you know, incredible historical racial-related movements in the United States. And part of me doesn't want to ask. I don't want to know. You know, I don't think that they were necessarily actively, you know, pro-white. But, you know, it feels like if they were fighting for blacks, that story would come up. Based off of who they are.
Right. Like if they were at one of the civil sit-ins or any of the civil rights activists times, you'd be like, I feel like I would have heard that story by now.
I think also, you know, when we think about the conversations growing up, as women, we're often given a similar talk. We have a similar connection where we can just talk openly with somebody, regardless of how well we know them necessarily. But if we're not in, you know, mixed company, we will share details that are incredibly deep. We'll have conversations, etc. But we didn't have conversations about race growing up. It was snuck into different beliefs or statements, etc. But for white people, we didn't talk about what race was, what race is, how it impacts us, how it impacts other people.
Right.
Whereas I do feel like a lot of other people, non-white people, haven't had a choice or just were more intentional with those conversations.
Right. Yeah. Because, I mean, like thinking about it, like, I have to stop saying like so much. Sorry, y'all. But in thinking of kind of topics like this, is most white people don't talk to their kid about police officers. Like, how do you talk to a police officer? Like, that was not a conversation I got from my parents or like my brother got or anything like that. But I knew some of our friends who did. Because
I was told I could always trust a cop.
Yeah, I kind of was too. And then when I got older and I met some cops, I was like, hey, y'all know some of these cops are real dicks, right?
Yeah, my dad was such a huge pacifist. He had never even touched a gun. My dad, my grandpa, my older brother, they're all aren't in the draft for religious reasons against killing people. P.S. Same, though.
Right.
I wouldn't. I can't imagine how I would be effective in that scenario.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be effective in that scenario either. Although I am like a survivor, and like I've joked with someone, like if it becomes down, like, yeah, I'm really kind, but if it comes down to me or you, like I'm probably going to survive. So like, let's not.
I mean, I have no idea. I know that I do things that I think are impossible for me to do by myself when I feel like friends are being threatened. And And this is on a very low scale. I'm talking primarily like dance floor situations where somebody's butting in and all of a sudden I'm no longer trying to make myself small. I'm like, excuse me, my friends are trying to have space here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like that too. If there's like a fight in the bar, like I'm going to jump up and get in the middle of it and stop it and like feel like I'm fearless and can like, I don't know, beat up the biggest guy. But I'm like also very much aware that I'm a pretty small human and have no strength.
Yeah, I don't think that I can win any physical contests, which is why I often unintentionally and also intentionally walk into a space and say, all right, who's a boy? I want you to know I'm smarter than you.
You're like, I might not be able to take you physically, but mentally, I will school you.
Odds are, if we're talking about intelligence in one specific definition, I win.
Well, it goes back to all your books.
Yeah, I've now read over 90, not quite 100, memoirs from different countries in the world because for some reason during COVID, well, not for some reason, for a long reason I'd be happy to discuss, I started reading memoirs from different countries in the world, and it's been incredibly, incredibly useful, especially when we're watching what's happening now. I think that I'm in a position where it doesn't feel quite as surprising in a way that allows me to keep thinking about what we could possibly do next. Because a lot of what's happening is following a formula we've seen and known before.
I don't understand how so many people still stand on the side of the Trump administration. Like, I could almost, in actuality, I can't see it from the very beginning. Like, when he first, like, came down the escalator, I was just like, this can't really be happening. Like, this is a stunt.
Right.
This is like, everybody knows who he is. Like, he has proven it over and over again throughout the years. Him on The Apprentice, him, like, bad behavior, just never had a good, like, I really thought everybody was on our side and had, and understood kind of who he was. And then when people were like, no, he's going to be different and he's, like, I don't know, going to save us somehow, I was just like, they have to realize how delusional they sound. And, like, how, like, he doesn't care about anyone else but himself in his pocket.
Yeah.
And maybe his kids. Like, I'm not even fully aware that he actually cares about them. You know, it just, how do you talk about your daughter that way if you really honor and respect her? How do you, you know, the womanizing and all of that. And then even just his periphery attachment to Epstein. Like, that wasn't a secret that they were friends for a lot of years and that they both liked a lot of women. So it's not a stretch to me that tomfoolery kind of had happened. And I say that being polite.
I mean, we, the American people, were so mad at Bill Clinton for lying about sex stuff that we impeached him.
Right. But this guy is, you know, grabbing them by the pussy on Inside Edition or whatever that was and admitting to all of this. And just the comments of walking through the Miss Teen USA pageant. Like, I just really thought all of that would negate him being, but then when he wasn't and it, like, seemed to be taking off and people were really buying in, I still didn't really understand it and think it could happen.
Yeah.
And then it just kept growing. And then he was elected president. And I'm not saying that Hillary was a better option, you know.
Right.
There was no great options, but I didn't think he was a plausible option.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were very surprised that he even got the nomination. And I think actually that's still part of what's feeding into the issues today is that if we watch, like, if we know even just U.S. history, every time a person of color has done something no person of color has done before, there is a white backlash. Like, the only other coup on American soil was the same. It was white people angry that Black people had positions of power.
Right.
And when you trace the story from the beginning, I think a lot of things make more sense. We were just taught, well, not the story from the beginning. And when you jump in halfway, it does sound very ridiculous.
Yeah. And I do think, I remember when Obama first got elected, there was like this backlash of white people being upset about a Black man in the presidency. But I was like, how can you not enjoy him? Like, he's such a statesman. He's, and he was even keel. And
he has swagger.
Yeah. And he was trying to do good for all people.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I remember, and
I mean, I have issues with the Obama presidency,
but I wasn't embarrassed by it.
I am someone who thinks that the left is way too conservative in different times, in different places, / possibly in a future time in this place, I'd be listed a radical. I think this is what the entire system has been designed for. Like, for example, it's very intentional that popular vote doesn't elect the president. We made the Electoral College because we deeply believed that highly educated people could make a decision on behalf of the non-educated people that would be better. Something I totally don't believe and never fall into in higher ed.
Yeah, well, good, because, like, how do you decide a swath of one group is smarter than the other? Like, there is no, it just doesn't work.
I mean, there is this feeling, I think, among the left that Trump supporters are stupid. I don't think we need to coddle them or,
Right. Well, I also think that when you just make huge assumptions of groups of people, you're not doing yourself or anyone else a service, because there's too many outliers. There's just too much diversity. Like, to say this group is smarter than that group, it just doesn't work because of the diversity within that group.
Right.
Like, you can have a section of the city that's mostly college students, but then you have, a row of dropouts. Like, I'm just trying to, what I mean? Like, there's no one area that's even.
Right. No one description describes an entire group, because even if we're like, it's a group of white people, you could also say it's a group of women and a group of men, or it's a group of non-binaries and weird cis straight people.
Right, but within that group, you're going to have such a vast variety of people with different perspectives and education and just common sense.
Yeah.
So there is no like broad stroking.
Yeah.
For making what should be policy.
Absolutely. And I think that, I don't think I have quite the strength exactly to do that, but I think that it would do the left good to be more curious instead of accusatory. And it's a fine line to walk, because especially as white people, we have been willing to let a lot slide. And that's not what I mean. But, we say, I don't know why anyone would vote for Trump. Well, you could ask somebody theoretically, and whatever they bring up is now a talking point.
Right.
I do think there were some. I don't think all people who voted for Trump because of racism or because of sexism
Right.
or because they loved reality TV or because I had another one, but I don't remember.
Well, I think that most people who voted for him were voting with their wallet, and they were believing that he was going to fix prices and make them more money. And I think they got into like that one issue voting. You know, like I think some people voted for him just because he said he was going to get rid of abortions. And I feel like other people voted him because he said he was going to fix the economy. And like anyone that's a one voter issue or one issue voter confuses me because I'm like, what about all the other stuff? And like also most politicians don't keep their promises. So if you're going to vote for someone for one issue, how do you know they're even going to follow through on that one issue?
Yeah, that I totally agree. I will say the concept of abortion is probably the one area where I can understand why the other side would make it a one issue.
Right.
Like if you genuinely believe that human souls are being murdered, it makes sense that that would be a one issue vote. Granted, there are other human souls being murdered,
right?
Whether it's through famine and occupation in Gaza or Black people by the cops here in the United States or poor people or anybody who disagrees with an authoritarian government.
And I could understand if they were doing stuff about the rest of those things and abortion was their one issue that they were voting on. But when someone's just going after abortions and they're not trying to fix the rest of that stuff, it feels like a straw man's argument. Like it doesn't feel like it tracks for me because if you're so passionate about saving people, why are you not doing things for the, like, researching for why we have the highest maternal mortality rate? Why are you not stopping the death penalty? Why are you not stopping Gaza? Why are you not trying to feed kids? Why are you know what I mean? Like if that's really what you're after, then I feel like you should be across the board trying to fix those things and not picking this one thing to, you know, and also a lot of that relates back to someone's religious belief.
Right.
And religious beliefs and government are not supposed to be together. Like we shouldn't be hanging up the 10 Commandments in a state building. We shouldn't be, like, if that's your religion, that's great, but keep it at home, keep it in your church, keep it out of my state building.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be there. Like, that's what our country is founded on. And the fact that people keep trying to go back and rewrite the history and then trying to whitewash it on top of that, if you can't be honest about where we come from, you're never going to help us get to where we need to be.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. Like that's the one thing when you go to like Germany, there's Holocaust museums and they talk about it and it's everywhere. And it's
right.
You know what I mean? It's something that happened that was terrible and they talk about it, they remember it, they accept it. And that's why they're doing so much better than we are. Really, like as a community, and when you go there, it's just a very different feel.
Yeah, I mean, I've read books. I know that there are some decent arguments to be made against the way that Germany talks about the Holocaust, because there is a sense often of you should be ashamed to be a part of the country that did this error. And I think that relates to how we talk about racism here. Like, if you have a racist belief, that means that you hate humans or you're like, you just are full of hate. But we all have racist beliefs because we were taught everything we believe in a racist society. And so if you don't acknowledge that, it's different. Like, if you grew up in China and don't acknowledge the fact that a good amount of what you learned and how you lived was impacted by Mao and and what some people call the cult of Mao, then you're missing part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, disclaimer, I do not know enough about China to be bringing it up as an example.
We are experts. What are you talking about?
But also, if you don't understand the history of civil war and war against Japan, etc., in China, you're not going to understand how Mao got to power.
Right.
And the reason Trump got to power is because, sure, we can make the argument that he spoke to the working class, or he spoke to concerns about inflation. We could also make the argument that he spoke to people's racist beliefs and they racistly voted. But I think that probably the majority of them want to believe that there is a society where bringing up race is just playing the race card. Like, there's this deep desire to believe that we're in a world past that.
Yeah. I think at one point I thought we were past it. And then I would see someone treat one of my friends in a different way and I'd be like, fuck, we're not past it. You know what I mean? But I thought overall we were doing better than we were.
Yeah.
I really thought we were doing better. And then
it's because that's what we're told. That's what we're taught. White women are in charge of writing history. It's not the men, BT dubs.
Yeah. Well, that's breaks my heart even more.
Yeah.
That it's people that look like me are doing some of the worst damage. Yeah. I always feel like I should be apologizing for the people I look like I represent.
Yeah.
Because I'm and yeah, it just, how do you hate someone you don't know for something that, because of something, I didn't get to choose my meat suit. You didn't get to choose your meat suit.
Mm-hmm.
Your meat suit shouldn't define who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And the fact that it still does so much really blows my mind.
I think it, at some point, comes back to the idea of thinking there's a limited supply of humanity. Yeah. And the belief that if someone is different than you, they're going to expose something that is wrong with you.
Well, that's the other thing I don't understand. We used to celebrate people's differences.
When?
Maybe we didn't. Maybe that's that's one of my other little delusionals is I used to think that individuality was what we celebrated and the diversity is what made us great. And then people seem to have started to cling to an idea as their identity. And the fact that Republicans, even Trump is I hate Democrats. Well, how do you hate people that you don't know? And also you just hate them because they are a Democrat? Democrats have nuanced ideas too, just like Republicans do.
Right.
And also, when did they become sports teams?
Yeah.
That's how politics is now being. And people are I am a Republican. Look at my red. And it's okay, great. But who else are you?
Right.
Because you can't believe everything.
And it's hard to see the humanity when, it's hard to imagine that fans on the opposite side of the stadium wearing the opposite colors are also humans dealing with the same thing that you're feeling, because it feels at times so incredible to be included in one part of a group that it requires, or it feels like it requires, a rejection of other groups.
Yeah.
Somebody finally knows me. That makes these people somehow better people.
Mm. It's kind of like when kids join gangs to feel loved.
Yeah. Or to feel protected. Because the other option is, being shot because you're not. And again, there aren't often before, I don't know, age 5, your brain waves, if you put them on a screen, are similar to the brainwaves of somebody that is currently under hypnotization. Somebody hypnotized.
Okay.
The brainwaves are different. It's similar before you learn critical thinking skills. Regardless of how we grow up, the first 5 years are absolutely effective brainwash because we don't have the capability of critically thinking. We don't always have the ability to remember. And so sometimes, regardless of what we are aware of, the need to belong on one side and make everyone else an enemy comes from just a need to be wanted, a need to be included, a need to not be alone.
And in a world where people are increasingly alone and separate from people, like the harder it is to diversify your ideas almost.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think it's real hard for white people to accept the idea that they got anything because they were white. Because in an environment that is also based on how much money you have in a capitalistic society, we're all a little bit behind.
Right. Yeah. It's like I don't have that because I tried to explain this to someone who didn't understand it, like they were like, no, I've never gotten anything because I'm white. I'm like, maybe you don't feel like you have, but you also haven't been discriminated against because you're white. Like, yeah, maybe people weren't actually handing you all the free stuff, but they weren't blocking you from getting it when you walk through the door because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
It seems like a hard concept for some white people to understand. And I'm like, I don't understand how you don't understand. Like, you don't walk in and there's already a barrier for you to climb over. Because when you walk in, you present as a white person. It just makes your life slightly easier. And I've had people tell me that I'm wrong. And I'm like, I'm not wrong. Like, you just aren't seeing it because you're in a vacuum almost. Well, also, like, you just are being ignorant and choosing to be ignorant now because you can see the difference between when a white person walks into a store versus a black person walks into the store. The reception is different. And if you haven't noticed it, it's because you don't want to.
Absolutely.
And I get it. Like, you think your life has been hard, and it probably has, but it's not hard because of the color of your skin.
Right. I think I have two different thoughts. One, I remember my dad saying something along the lines of talking specifically about, I'm going to call her Patty McIntosh, may or may not be her name. Who first wrote that list of things you could checkmark for white privilege. Like, have you been able to get a house in your neighborhood? Like, etc. And my dad was like, I grew up poor, so it's not like I'm up there. It might be about, class more than race.
Right.
He didn't say that. That was the lesson. And the thing is that race has been used to distinguish between the classes. Like, the whole idea of white trash is actually racist, even though it's mostly used by white people about white people. Because what we're saying is, you don't deserve to be quite included in white. However, even though you are poor or don't have as many opportunities or whatever, at least you're white.
Right. Yeah, when I first moved out here, when I went to look for my first apartment, I went to go and they were like, well, we're going to do a background check. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I was like, okay. And I walked away going, I'm not getting that apartment because I hadn't worked in like 8 years. Mm-hmm. And so on paper, I had very little income, very little credit. I mean, I had decent credit, but I hadn't worked. I hadn't done something else. And I had like a good amount of debt. So I walked away and I was like, well, it's a great apartment, but I'm not going to get it. And the woman called me back like 10 minutes later, and I'm sitting there with a friend, Diane, who is a Black woman. And we're sitting there, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably, and we were talking about it. I'm like, I probably won't get it because when they do the background check, like I haven't worked. I have like a sizable amount of debt. And as we're sitting there talking about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, won't get it. But like, it was cute and I can afford it. And I get a call saying I got it. And I hung up the phone and she looks at me and she goes, that's sweet. And I was like, oh yeah, that's completely because I'm a cute white girl.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm glad you know that, baby. And I was like, yeah, she could not have done a background check, not this fast.
Absolutely.
And I was like, she was just like, oh, this cute little white girl is restarting because she got a divorce and she's here. And there was, and it was a white woman that showed me the property, and she was a manager. It was her decision. And I was like, that's my privilege showing. And Diane just kind of laughed at me and was just like, thankfully you are at least aware of it. And I was like, sorry, not sorry. You know, like, and we half joked about it, but she was like, that would have never happened to me.
Right.
And she is a much like classier person than I am, looks way more put together. Like she's fine. Like to me, like my brain was almost like, I would have chose you over me. Just because, I come in and I'm like a little stoner white chick, but I am, I'm present well. And
right.
I was just like, yeah, that is totally my privilege right there. And I was grateful for it. I'm not going to lie about that, but I was also aware of it.
Yeah, I think I again should attribute this to some writer and not me, but the myth of meritocracy is also something that I think really bothers us. And for me personally, it was really hard to accept the idea that I did so well in school, partially because school was designed for me. And I got to prove that I was really intelligent in a specific way of describing intelligence and a very specific way to get in.
Right.
And to be, for me, it relates a bit to gender as well. But for me to get that proof, it's hard to let go and say, I got it because it was rigged. Because I did. I absolutely fucking worked hard.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to say, like, especially when you do work hard and you do put all the effort in, it's hard to admit, like, that you also got ahead because of the color of your skin.
Yeah. I think white women struggle with that a lot. And they think frequently that you can have feminism without whatever the equal rule is to how we feel about people's color or race or ethnicity or whatever.
Right.
White women are like, I've had to try so hard against the white man too. Aren't we the same?
Yes.
And don't realize that when we think of strong female, inspirations or bitch bosses or whatever, the majority of them are absolutely white. And even if there are Black or Indigenous or Hispanic or, just non-U.S. white people, there's a strong desire, I think, for us to be like, see, proved it. It wasn't a white woman.
Right.
Like, I can't be racist. I love Lizzo.
I have a Black friend.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, like, so many women want to be like, well, we're a minority too. And we are, but we're not the same as like a Black woman or Latin woman minority.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, and the fact that we try to put ourselves in that category doesn't feel like it as a way to lift them up. It feels like a way to put us in their category and be like, well, we work hard too. Look at us. Like, right. But we also have we also are on second base.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, white men might be on third, but we're right there on second.
the white women who fought hard and protested for our right to vote hired Black women to take care of their kids while they did that.
Right. And they were trying to not help with the Black vote. They wanted just the women's white vote. Like, that's a point that I think a lot of people don't talk about. It wasn't the women's suffrage movement, like all women.
Right.
It was the white women's suffrage movement.
No, the majority, a good chunk of women who made significant progress in the suffrage movement were previously on the abolition movement. And then we're like, you're going to give a Black man a vote before you give me, a white woman. And at that point, they also pushed education. I'm an educated white lady.
Right.
Why would you possibly want his vote over mine? And I mean, they lost that one. But it's not just subconsciously woven into the DNA based on how we're raised and what we're not willing to talk about.
Mm.
I think that white women have just such a strong desire to prove that what they did successfully is regardless of gender or race if it's brought up. I think we like to assume race isn't included because that makes us the victims. But I also think white women are like so happy to be like first class victims.
Mm.
You know, like white men are terrible, but also to us.
Right.
And I think that white women aren't often likely to describe themselves as white women as opposed to just women.
Mm.
Whereas you'll hear somebody say, I'm a Black woman, I'm a Latina.
Yeah. Well, and I've also heard white women specifically be like, why do they have to define themselves as a strong Black woman or as a strong Latin woman? Like, why can't they just be a strong woman?
Mm-hmm.
Because when they walk through the door, they are also a Black woman or a Latino woman. It's not because they feel like they have to identify like that. It's because they know that's how they are identified.
Yeah. And
so they're trying to own it.
I think it's problematic when white women don't realize they walk into a room as white women.
Right.
If they think they're on the same field. And I have evidence from the books I've read. But I just finished reading this book from this woman in Bolivia, I believe. And she went to one of the first, like, international women's conference and found it so confusing going into different spaces because they were like, men are doing this, men are doing this, men are doing that. And they were like, okay, what would help women in Bolivia actually isn't directly related to gender. And maybe gender comes up eventually, but like our husbands are killing themselves in the mines. We're getting paid nothing. We're doing this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like what we need help for it's not, birth control. It's not domestic abuse laws. As women, our people need better, and that includes our men. And we'll figure out, like, oh, my man thinks he's stronger a different time. Like, what we need now is to not have all these lung diseases, this, like, insane cycle of poverty. And yeah, I think white women have had a hard time recognizing that their fight against men, it's only a gender fight and it's not a race fight.
Right. Yeah.
And we still settle for at least they don't hate us as much as they do other women.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
No, that's true. No, it's just so like, yeah.
I think of it, I haven't thought about this enough to know whether or not it's problematic to say, but I think about it like the overseer role. I'm not saying you're bad, but like at the very least, I hurt less than you do, and I'd rather be in that spot.
Right. Well, I was listening to an interview the other day, and this woman was talking to a professor about something that had happened in their class, and this woman had come in and she was swearing a lot. She was just kind of more on like the counterculture part of life, but she was talking at like a Stanford class.
Mm-hmm.
And the professor was and she was a white woman, and the professor was talking to these two young black women that were in class, and they were saying how they could never talk like that. And the professor was like, is a white man, was like, what do you mean? And the black woman said, like, the fact that she was like, she's very powerful, she's very dynamic. It was interesting to listen to her, but like, I could never come into class and talk like that. And he was like, why don't you think you could? And she was like, because I'm a black woman. And that would be doing a disservice to every other black woman that's going to walk into this office or walk into this class, because every person sitting in this class is now going to think that she's less intelligent. She's just angry.
Right.
There's going to be a different kind of thought that comes to the forefront of their mind than my message or their message. And he was kind of shook by it. And then she was like, well, I represent every other black woman that's going to follow me.
Yeah.
She as a white woman doesn't have to think of that. And he was kind of surprised that he hadn't realized that or thought of that. And when they were talking, I was just like, oh yeah, like that's something I don't have to worry about.
Right. Because I can go do some crazy shit.
And I'm just a crazy bitch.
Fact, no one's going to be like, white women be like.
Yeah. Whereas I have friends who, like, I've had that conversation with and be like, do you always have to think about that? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, fuck, that's like terrible.
I mean,
and it's like,
and you hear it on the other side too.
Right. And then I'll hear someone be like, oh, look at that angry black woman. And I'm like, no, that's just an angry woman. Like, I'd be angry if that just happened to me too.
Right.
But it's always like they're dismissed or they're, not as right in, even though they're responding correctly to a situation, somehow it's not. And it's like, oh, they're just playing a race card. And it's like, no. You'd be pissed if that just happened to you too, no matter the color of your skin.
The people who play the race card might be us, white women.
Oh, absolutely.
In the way that, like...
And I don't mean like me, but yes.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of white women.
You said, oh, absolutely. I love that. No.
I love that. It's my favorite card to play.
But... white women have been known to blame the black, I don't want to say woman, but I feel like child is equally, if not more so accurate, for, air quotes, sleeping with, rape, their husbands. Because... what do you want to believe? Do you want to believe that your husband is somebody who would rape a child?
Right. Oh, yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. Like the fact that when something happens to a young black woman, somehow that is still, even when they are a child.
It's her fault.
It's their fault. And it's mind-blowing to me that happens.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, well, she looks older, so she should know better. What? Where is that fucking mental gymnastics coming into your brain?
Well, we are frequently, as a society, likely to over-mature black
Mm-hmm.
children,
Yeah.
i.e., shoot a 6-year-old with a fake gun.
So problematic to me, all of that.
All of it.
So wait, but how do doctor,
Mm-hmm.
how do we make it better? Like, what do white
Okay.
women need to do better? What do we as a society, like, and speaking, we're two white women talking about race and talking about how women that look like us are kind of one of the biggest problems in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we tell the women that are like us that don't think this way how to do better?
Okay. One, I feel like I sound so confident. Okay.
You are a doctor.
This is what I have learned from reading so many books. Number one, community has to be like fucking super important. You have to know there are people who will, if they only have one can of soup, will split it with you. Like,
Right.
you need to have people who you can say, here's what's going on, and not be afraid they're going to report you.
Mm-hmm.
Society is not going to give you any affirmation on your humanity. Like, it's so fucking important to have community. It's the only way you'll survive. It's also theoretically a beautiful way to learn the depths of humanity when you lose everything else. For white women, I think that probably the biggest thing is know that when you walk into a room, you walk into a room as a white woman. I think so many times white ladies think, I'm stepping in this room as a lady, but you're stepping in as a white woman. And if you don't know how whiteness plays an impact on your space in a room, you should.
Right. Do you think those white women, too, are people that don't have a lot of friends of different ethnicities?
I don't think it's just ethnicities. I think white
Or race,
women... Yeah, no, I think white women are playing the role. I think a significant amount of women are playing this role we've been sold, where if we're nice enough, good enough, caring enough, we keep the house clean, we take care of the babies, we both fuck our husbands and encourage them on to greatness. There's this, like, belief that will make us feel satisfied. And I think that white women specifically were so afraid of saying, what I have I didn't earn, because why would we ever say that to a white man?
Right.
Or to say, like, for me, for so long, I have been fighting for white men to think that I'm smart, that I don't always know what to do when somebody else might be coming across as smarter. But I know for a fact in that situation, I need to be aware that I am white and female. The way that we are very aware of creepy men at the bar. We need to know when you walk into a space, you are white. And if you don't, like, if you walk into a space being a white woman and it's fine, pay attention, see if it's different if somebody else walks in.
Right. Yeah, like take the temperature of the room and realize and just watch how people are perceived when they come in. Because if you really pay attention to the way someone the room shifts when someone walks in, and then like you watch for a couple people, you really can figure out a lot about that room and the people in it and how they, because I spend a lot of spaces where I'm one of the only white people, and sometimes I am uncomfortable. And I have to, like, in that moment, remind myself, this is how these friends feel in every other aspect of our lives.
I'm uncomfortable because I've never, ever been the only one.
Right. Well, exactly. Yeah. Like when one of my friend Pia, oftentimes when I'm with her, I'm the only white person because I'm surrounded by Filipinos, and they like joke and adopt me and tell me I am Filipino, like especially when I'm high. My eyes get a little more.
Advertisement for Filipino Fest that's coming up in a week or
next Saturday. Next Saturday, I'll be there pouring drinks.
Me too.
Yay! I was not a huge part of that, but like I was there when that festival came into even as a thought. And I am so grateful to be part of that community. Like they show up for each other so fucking hard and so big, and just they love each other in a way that is inspiring, that I often think I wish white people were this supportive of each other.
The reason I think we're not is because we're all trying to buy into the belief that there's only a limited amount.
Right. Well, also, there is no white culture.
Yes, I'm so excited. Okay.
There is no white culture.
I wanted to bring this up earlier. We talk about the melting pot in the United States, and what the melting pot is and was and will be is what will you give up to be white? Like we have
that's a great way to look at that.
We have documented proof. Like the Irish were not considered white. The Italians were not considered white. Like now we're like, oh, you're white. Where are you from? Ireland? But we talked about how much we had to give up.
But we didn't give up anything. We just stole other people's shit and made it our own. Like, we didn't, right? Like, there is no white culture, and I will fight anyone that tells me there is. There's Italian culture.
I mean, there's the
white supremacists. Like,
thumbs up, big ol' smile.
You know what I mean? Like, all of our food is taken from other places or influenced by other places. All of our, like, the best shit in the U.S. is derivative of other cultures. We've just whitewashed it. But, like, there is no white culture. There is no one. There's nothing that's, like, other than our skin color, there's nothing that, like, is a through line through and through. It's all pieces of other cultures that we've taken and made beige.
I think there can't be white culture because, well, ultimately because white's not a real thing.
Right.
But if we were to talk about black culture, most likely you and I would be talking about the United States black culture,
right?
Which BT Dubs is American culture. They're people.
Yeah,
have been here longer than you are my people.
Right, and they brought most of the culture.
Right.
Like, they kept that shit alive in the fields and in the, like they should be the superior race. You know what I mean? Because they came here against their will, and they managed to hold on to so many of their customs, so much of their through line, so much of their passions for where they came from, their connection, their community. They've always, for the most part, I mean, I know people are going to say things, but for the most part, that community has had each other's back in a way that white people haven't most of the time. There's like the elitist white people versus the poor white people. Most black people, when they start to make it, they go back to their community and try to pull everyone else up. Most white people just spend their money and are like, I don't need to. I have a yacht now. I don't even need to go back to my fucking hometown.
I mean, we do have a growing number of black millionaire Republicans.
Yeah, which
way to go, progress. I think the idea was superior race. Is that?
Well, yeah, that's a problem.
I mean, obviously,
I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I mean.
Like, obvious, like race is all made up, and like the culture Black American culture is a combination of so many different things. Black American culture is not Kenyan culture or,
Right.
South African culture.
Yeah, no, that's like the real melting pot, right? Because they'll say something like, "Oh, this is from the Jamaican roots, or this is from the African roots, or this is from and they will kind of differentiate between, but they also accept it in a way that's different and more community based than white people seem to take into account.
Yeah, because I think partially because as white people, not necessarily intentionally or awareingly, but I think we gave up a lot to be included into the level of power.
Mm.
And so we don't have Irish and English and Norwegian and whatever celebrations. Like, theoretically, my family's German in ancestry, but we don't talk about it. Because,
Well, I mean, Holocaust. No, I'm just kidding.
Honestly, I imagine that my grandma, at the very least, was involved in the women's KKK.
Oh.
Just in the way they describe it as, like, nice white church ladies.
Oh,
They sound like my grandma.
I grew up, so my family is Irish and Canadian. Like, they went from Ireland to Canada to here. And, I have actually, Anna, who does Traditions Cafe, and she does, she's huge into culture and how your culture affects you. And she's was asking me, and I was like, oh, I don't know, most of my grandparents grew up in Boston, but one of my grandmothers came down when she was young, 15, and, we're Canadian, and I've been to Canada a bunch, but I'm not I'm Canadian.
Right.
We're kind of more we're Irish, and my name is super Irish, but
You're more let's drink whiskey.
Yeah, I am Irish, but I'm not I'm not fucking tattooing a shamrock on me, or I don't feel super connected to either of those. I feel super connected to Boston, and I will identify as a Bostonian before I identify as anything else, and all of what that means. But I also don't think I identify with just where I'm from.
Yeah.
It's just, that's a part of me, but it's not who I am.
Well, as a white person, other people didn't necessarily make us decide how to say where we're from.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
I mean, if I'm super honest, there is still part of me that when I interact with some people, I want to be like, so where are you, parents? And partially because, and to be super honest and open, I don't have the experience or ability to distinguish between different Asian races.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's I'm not good at that.
But I know it's important. I know it means so. I know it's different.
Right.
If you're from Japan or China. And so I want to say, where are you from? But I don't want to say, you were probably born and raised in Sacramento, and I want to say, but where are you from? Where are your people from? I don't want to.
Well, I get, but it's also because you're doing it out of a respect for them, because it affects their world differently than it affects yours.
I want them to know. Kind of like if someone says they're from Spain, I want them to know. I know that people speak Spanish and, Catalan.
Is that the language in Spain?
This is a bad example. Let me.
I'll just edit that part out. Well, it's like when
Let me
someone's...
do this experience. So knowing somebody is from China doesn't necessarily mean they speak Mandarin.
Right.
Like Cantonese is also, air quotes again, Chinese.
Right.
And just because you know that there's a difference doesn't mean that you get to ask, especially if I want to show I know more than the average white person.
You're like, how do I show you that I'm not a Karen without being a Karen?
Right. Can you do you have any certificates that say this white person knew more than expected? But I mean, I think that comes from, we were taught that you only speak of what is good.
Yeah. And it's because we're not taught, it's like you said earlier, we're not taught to talk about these things. We're not taught to talk about race. Like, I'll joke sometimes with someone. I'm like, no, I save my racism for my friends. And it's not because when I say it, I'm thinking of my friends that are of other ethnicities, because we say some of the most fucked up shit to each other. You know, like we are like poking fun, or like today I was talking to two of my friends and we're meeting up later and we're all talking about like our charcuterie boards we're making. And I was like, yo, I'm going to get crackers. Does anyone else need some? And they were both like, yeah, we need all of them because we don't have any. And I'm like, oh, so you're leaving the crackers for the cracker? Like, I get it. You know, like... And like, we say shit like that to each other all the time because we're very much aware of our differences and how we're perceived in the world. But we also know, like, when it's just us hanging out at home, there are no differences. We're all the same person. And, you know, different experiences, different perspectives, but we're basically all the same asshole. Like,
I mean, we do this. We being white women do this with other women where we're like, oh, let me just go out and I'll shake my butt and see if some guy will buy us food. Like, like whatever the joke is, we're willing to make that when it's us.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we make terrible sexual jokes and like,
but we're just, we're not
having fun and taking the piss, as they say. We're
not used to talking about race because if we were to acknowledge race, it means I didn't work as hard against the men that I worked against. Or like, I'm saying I had a cheat code.
Right.
But for me, it was only listed in the instructions. I didn't know it was a cheat code. Like,
yeah, you don't know until you know.
I did my work, yeah.
Yeah. And when you sit back and you're like, oh, shit, yeah, I got ahead because it was easier for me because I present in a more palatable way to some of these people. And I think it's good that we can admit it because I think it maybe gives other white people a room to admit it. And it's not, admitting that isn't taking away from how hard you've worked. It's just acknowledging that it goes back to the baseball analogy. Like, it just acknowledges that we got to start a little closer to home base.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we still didn't work hard. It doesn't mean that it wasn't still hard for us or that we didn't have obstacles. It's just one of those obstacles wasn't as big for us as it is for our Black women and men and Latin and Asian. And, you know, like the fact that, and sometimes I think Asian people kind of get off a little easy, quote unquote, because the stereotype of Asian people is they're super smart, right? Like most people are like, oh, I mean, I know there's a lot of Asian hate, especially, you know, in the Bay Area. Yeah, and especially in the last 5 years.
We started the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Right.
And we use people of Asian descent to say, see, the ones who looked more white are doing great, which means they must try harder.
Or they're just naturally smarter.
But we have so much video footage from 2020 of what people around here did to people who looked Asian.
Yeah, I remember I had a few, I mean, I still have them, but a few of my friends that are Asian during that time were afraid to go different places in Oakland or SF or, you know, or just around because of what was happening. And it was terrible to be there for that and to see it. But it was obviously less terrible because I could still walk out the door and be okay as a white woman.
Yeah, I think those moments of like walking from one place to another that feel so terrifying. I think that white women, they only know it one way. They know, like, I'm afraid of a man.
Right.
But they also know I'm afraid of one of the bad ones. And the idea that somebody is afraid of one of the bad ones, but like they mean white people, means I'm a part of that group.
Well, it's also, I had probably last year, I was talking to this, I was with one of my cousins and we were talking to her partner, and he's a very tall, I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", white guy. And we made a joke about like running from one place to another, or like just how sometimes when you go to leave your house, it's almost like, oh, fuck, but it's after dark and how am I getting there and where's my car exactly? And, you're thinking through how you're going to get there safely. And he kind of was like, wait, no, like you honestly always think about that? And we were like, yeah. And he's like, no, come on. Like, seriously, you're always wondering. And I was like, yeah, every time I leave somewhere, especially after dark, like, I'm thinking safe spot to safe spot, this spot to that spot. Like,
Absolutely.
How do I get there without being murdered?
There's an amount of intoxication I'm willing to do.
Right.
If I think I need to get to a bus stop.
Right. Yeah. Like you're always measuring at what point are you going to be on Dateline, and
but like,
and he just was shocked, and he was like, no, you honestly think it, right? And so I was like, yes, my cousin, his significant other was like, oh yeah, that's always it. And then like a woman sitting 2 stables away turned around and was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And then another woman turned and was like, yeah, me too. And he was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, every woman. And I was like, that is what we're talking about when we talk about your privilege. Like, you as a white man don't have to worry about it. Like, but as women, we're always thinking about it. I'm like, and if you think like that's wild for me to think about, I only have to think about it after dark. I'm like, my brown, black, and Asian friends have to think about it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, they're thinking about it. I'm like, and then black men have to think about it also. Like, how do I do this, and this without being in danger? And he was just looking at me, and his mind was actually blown. And I was like, you really never, how are you almost, or he is over 40. I'm like, how are you over 40 years old and you've never, like, this is never, and he was just like, it's not what my reality is. Like, he's like, I'm a big guy. And I was like, yeah, you're also a big white guy. And he was like, well, you don't have to bring race into it. I'm like, no, I do. Because you are just realizing that us as white women are this afraid. And
right,
I also
you don't get to be
a
guy outside of race.
I also
inside these.
Yeah, I'm like, I also am going to drive home the point that it's even worse for all of the rest of the races behind us. Like, black men also think the way I think. And so do all the black women. And I'm like, and it just gets worse down the line.
I think what can be, what white women do that causes more harm than good is this belief that, like, people can't be afraid of white men. We understand men, right? We know how to protect ourselves against men. But if we're talking white, well, that's outside of gender, and that means you're including me. And I don't want to be in that unsafe group.
But they are the unsafest group.
That's true. But when
they statistically are the most unsafe group.
There's enough research and personal anecdotes to prove that a lot of black men walking down the sidewalk are more afraid of me than I am of them. Oh. But you know what? I don't want to admit that because I'm not going to try to harm them.
Right.
And also, based off of arm size, it seems like he has the upper hand, and I don't want to say that I do because I'm white.
Right, but also, like, it's not even about you harming them. It's that if for some reason it's you next to a black man and a cop is called, you automatically get...
I win regardless.
Right. Like, whatever happens...
I can rob him and I win.
Right. The default is that you're the victim when those cops show up. And no matter what color those cops are, unfortunately, for whatever else is baked into that, is you get the benefit of the doubt whenever someone shows up to a scene.
Yeah.
So it's not even about you harming them. It's about you being a decent enough person to admit you might have been in the wrong and they aren't.
Right.
Like,
or that they're in the wrong and will not be treated fairly, and it's something my job to call an executioner.
Right. Yeah. Like, I have a friend who he is white, and he was he's a convict. You know, he served his time and was out. Like he went to jail for... he's in jail for a few years. But we were out and cops came up and they started questioning us about something. And I got very kind of combative and like, you can't bother us. We're not doing anything wrong. And he's looking at me like, just shut up. And then when the cops finally walked away, he was like, please don't ever put me in that situation again. And I was like, we're fine. Like, that guy's just being a dick. And he was like, right. But if he runs your information, you're fine. If he runs my information, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, I've been to jail. Like, that's going to come up when he runs my name. And he's like, and then I'm already, like, he's like, I already look like I should be behind the 8 ball because, he, looked like a convict. That's not what I'm trying to say. But you know what I mean? Like, do
you mean he looked non-white?
No, he's very white. No, he's very white, but he had, like, the I've been to prison
face
swagger.
Tattoos?
Basically, yes.
Sure.
Like,
the tattoos, the shaven head.
He looked like a stereotypical white drug
wearing
dealer.
Orange pants and an orange top.
He's had a blue flag hanging out his back pocket. But he didn't look like a preppy white dude. Let's say that. So he was like, if they run my information, I am an ex-convict. Like, I don't have the same rights as you. And I kind of had forgotten that for a moment. And I was like, shit, no, I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. And I wasn't trying to. And then he was like, would you do that to one of your black friends? And I was like, oh. And I was like, maybe. Like, but also I might have, if I was with one of my black guy friends and I might not have been as combative because I would have been afraid for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have been kind of running interference, but I would have been doing it in a much calmer, more demure way, where like I had an extra set of big balls because we're both white, and so like, what are you gonna do? Which is in itself kind of a problem. And it's like my own. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know I have a bias, but I also know how so many of my black friends do feel about cops. So I would have handled it different, and like, I was like, oh, this is when like the poor black person or poor white person intersects with the black people, kind of similar dynamic. And I was just also, that's my privilege showing. Like, I can come back at a cop because I'm a white girl. Like, a black woman's not doing that. And it's being aware of those moments and then learning from them and not.
Did you see Asata Shakur? Tupac's godmother?
No.
Died yesterday in Cuba. She was a political refugee.
Yeah, I can.
Obviously, incorrectly charged with killing a state trooper, and has been in Cuba for so long since she escaped prison.
Well, I really go back and forth on the Tupac thing. Like, did Biggie kill him, or did he get killed by the U.S. government because he was spitting so much truth?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, like, that's one.
What I do know is the FBI was formed in order to keep track on Martin Luther King, who we now portray as such a advocate for peace, just by the fact that he was murdered shortly after saying that we deserve equal pay and should not be enough.
Yeah, and both things were true. Yeah. I mean, he was definitely murdered by the government.
I think, okay, this is going to seem like a weird jump, but imagine this movie. There's this bad guy, and then there's
Wait, what movie?
Any movie.
Oh, okay.
A theoretical movie. And there's a bad guy, and then there's, like, the sidekick to the bad guy who's like, what? No, I don't. I agree with the good guys this whole time. I was just, he seduced me. That's what...
No, I was just in a
That's
cult.
what I think white women do a lot of times, where they're like, I'm not bad. I'm trying to survive, and I tried to survive by submitting to him.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to think that, like, I signed on to all of the terror the two of us did together.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
That's like when white women don't vote in their own interest, they vote in their husband's interest.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that that is just a known thing to me is wild. Also, like, be your own person.
I will say...
I know it's harder than it to say that. Like, I don't actually know that. I just have always been my own person.
I will say that...
No, I haven't.
Apparently, a good number of women who did not vote for Hillary had a lot better reasons than I had to vote for her. Like, her record in the Middle East, her view, like, so many women were like, she wants to kill my family.
Right.
I'm not white, so maybe you guys don't know, but, like, there are a lot of them that were way more pro-Bernie.
Yeah. I think if Bernie...
And not a socialist way, but a you didn't murder my parents kind of way.
Yeah, like you didn't think he was going to try to murder a bunch of people kind of way. And I think that's why they kept him out, too, of office, is because he didn't play ball the way that Clintons did. Or they knew they would.
He has way more money than rest of us think we do, though. Or we think he has.
But that's okay. I mean, it would have been okay as long as he got into office, because I think he would have done a better job than the last two presidents. Like, I think he would have done a better job than Biden did. I think he would have done a way better job than Trump did. I think that the world wouldn't hate each other as much as we do. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like optimism or rose-colored glasses or whatever. I just think he wouldn't have sown as much division.
Yeah.
I think that division wouldn't be as great.
I think I'm at the place where I almost want the division to be as deep as it is, because it feels to me like I've been watching a new medical show, so my best analogy is medical, where you have to tell somebody this is how bad it is before they actually stop eating or drinking or smoking or whatever it is.
Yeah, you're like, this is a terminal illness unless you change all these things.
And if we keep pretending that, like, oh, you shouldn't, but you are, it's not a fully accurate understanding of what's happening.
I get that. I'm always optimistic that things aren't as bad as they read to be. Like, I really hope in communities it's not as bad. I hope that on, like, the micro level, it's not as terrible as it seems. And it's like, once you scope, you kind of come out to the macro, that's when it just gets distorted in some weird way. But then I know that that's not right. Like, I know that that's not really what's happening. I think there's pockets of it that are hopeful, but I think overall, like, there's just such a division in our world.
I think your instinct is right there. Like, we gotta find those connections. Like, the people, it's not always clear who's gonna survive war or revolution or whatever. But the people who do are very clear. They survived because they cared about people and people cared about them.
Yeah. And I do care about people so much. Like, I hate that I love people so much.
Yeah, I hear that.
Like, it would really be easier if I was, like, less attached to so many people. But I love so many people, and so many people have different... I have a black friend, you know? I wish more people could just see who people are and not what they look like. And I don't understand how we are in 2025 and people are still clinging to, like, but this is my group and this is my identity and this is the only thing that matters. I just don't understand how we've kind of come away from, or I guess we never were at the place where people are just people.
Yeah.
Like, I really thought we were so much further along as a nation than we are. And I just don't understand how I can think so different than so many people. Because I'm not special. You know, I have so many friends that think so much like I am.
You're special.
Thank you. I mean, special ed, but, you know, but honestly, like, it's not, like, I'm not revolutionary.
Right.
Or at least I shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like, I want to know, are you cool or not, versus where are you from or where are your people from? Like, I just think who you are in every day and how you show up is the only way you should be judged.
Yeah, I
not that you should be judged at all, really.
I believe that our best hope is that there are some people who don't think that and work for something better. But I know for a fact that for us to survive, that's exactly what we need, is the one-on-one relationship, that I'm not trying to do this for points. I'm trying to do this because, like, you're a human, I'm a human. I believe in human survival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially now that, like, we have to fight AI together. Like, we're going to be iRobot anytime now.
You know, I kind of think robots are already going to take us over, so I might as well conform. I also thought I'd better get COVID as soon as possible since that's the thing. And when I didn't have it, I was like, I'm missing out. I'm not cool.
That sounds like a different set of problems we need to tackle.
That's a different podcast. One where my therapist should at least be an observer.
I better get COVID soon.
But it makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Well, and that's all that really should matter. The deep
desire to not want to be a part of the group I know is doing so much harm. And at the same time, if I'm not thinking about that, sometimes it's the group that makes me feel like I'm family and I belong. And I don't think white women in this society over years have been given many chances to practice that, to become stronger in that. And I think we're still placating. Like, I think we're still more concerned with what people think we are or think we're doing than what we're actually doing.
Yeah, because if we weren't, we'd be doing better by our peers that just happen to be from different races and ethnicities.
Yeah.
I think that if enough white women weren't concerned about how they were being perceived and how they might be slighted against because of it, they would be doing better work in their communities of making all people feel welcomed and accepted and appreciated.
Yeah. And I think it's also a better world if white women, like, possibly me, don't need the congrats on being such a good white lady prize. Like, I do feel like there are times where I'm like, do you see how good I'm doing in anyone? Like,
well, it goes back to even what I was saying earlier. Sometimes, like, I want to be like, I'm on your side and I'm an ally, but like, also, I don't want to be so like, look at me, I'm doing a good job. Like, it's a weird kind of line to walk.
It's also, I mean, there's also weird lines to walk when it's like, is Joe Biden the ideal candidate I wanted to vote for? Fucking no.
Yeah. Not at all.
Am I happy that my vote won? I mean, it could have been worse, yes. But is it what I wish I put my name behind? No.
Right. It was choosing the lesser of two evils. Or what you thought was going to be the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like the last 10 years of our political lives have been. Like, how do I help choose the lesser of two evils? Because I feel like for the last at least 10 years, if not more, we haven't had great options. There's been such a divisiveness in this country that keeps growing more divided instead of trying to pull us together and being like, hey, shouldn't depend on our race. Let's talk about the money people have and the money they're keeping in those pockets. They happen to all be old white men pockets, but like, let's band together and work against that versus band together about like farm workers versus, deportation. I mean, it's just everything got so crazy, and it is so crazy and wild. And the fact that people are getting snatched off the street, and the fact that just for speaking Spanish means you might get deported, and then they'll figure out later if you're a U.S. citizen.
Apparently, wearing a U.S. Bulls jersey is enough to get you snatched off the street.
Right. Like, that to me is, how did we get here, and how do some people think that that's still okay?
I think we've been there.
I guess maybe we have, because it happened so fast and seemed to happen so easy. Also, how have the good people not even infiltrated enough of this world to keep it from going so fucking wild and corrupt? Like, have we been slacking off as the good people for so long, or we're just like, we'll make a difference in this kind of side of the neighborhood, but not over there? And I'm not saying that I do enough. I certainly don't. Like, I have not been very political for most of my life because it always felt like a world I didn't have to deal with. Like, I knew some people that were in it and they were doing a good job, and I was like, I'm just going to leave it to them. And now it's like, oh shit, I need to do more because the world is not reflecting where I think it should be or where I want it to be.
Yeah.
But it's also, I'm exhausted from living my regular life. That how do I get the energy to do more and to help affect more?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that there is like kind of a false advertisement in the idea that if you spend your time protesting or doing something, like, that there will be some way that it's worth it. Like, if I don't protest and then the law isn't changed, I feel bad. But if I do and
the law still isn't changed, I'll feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we, being you and me, have been taught that we theoretically have the ability to change anything.
Oh, yeah.
And practically need a man behind it.
Part of me really does hope I can change the world, but there's a cynical part of me that's like, who am I to change it? But then there's a part that's like, you've seen one person change things, so why wouldn't you be the person that could change things?
You've also, I'm confident you can name a person who had such an impact on your life that your life is different because of one person.
Oh, yeah. I can name a few different people at different times in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels like well, I guess that just gets to my self-worth issues, which is, again, a different podcast where my therapist would have to be here. You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, they
Excuse
obviously...
me, therapists. We got you each a seat. Would you like popcorn? Tea?
More wine?
Tequila?
Because, yeah, like, and you're absolutely right. I can point to people, and I can point to people, aka, you know, she hasn't been brought up yet today, Sandy from Fireside. She's one of those people that changed my life in a really big way. And she would tell you she's no one, and she, you know, but she's changed so many people's lives. And she's very modest about it. And she's very, like, that wasn't me. And it very much is her.
And I'm confident there's somebody who would say that, but, you know, most likely, for most of us, somebody we will never know.
Right. Yeah, and I've had even...
But that's what being human, I think, means coming to sense with the insane power and flaws you have, and loving somebody else who has so much power and so many flaws and risks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I mean, I don't want to sound like I've been brainwashed by a therapist, but I think it's problematic when we don't talk about it.
I do too.
I think that if you see somebody walking by and you're like, oh no, oh wait, did I just think that because they're tall and dark or whatever? Like, we all know that those things that you think or feel that are bad, that we try to never tell anyone and hide deep, turn into, like, annoying pain. We don't feel good after that.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes when... Yeah. And sometimes when someone does share something with me about that, like, oh, I was nervous because there was a big black guy out front and blah, 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 you know? And I'll be like, really? That makes you nervous? I'd be more secure with that than a big white guy.
Yeah.
And I will, and I have said it, and I've gotten shit for saying it, but I'm like, nah, like, most big black dudes that I know are the nicest guys and who will help me or watch out for me, where, like, most big white dudes that are outside late at night make me more nervous.
I mean, statistically speaking, the most danger you are in as a woman is being married to a man. And, like, in defense of men, which I will never say again, they're taught something similar, where you can only prove you're valuable enough to live if you are better than. And so they have to be better than something, someone, something.
And, like, who's to say which is better? It's like an unattainable, always moving target. So it's not something you should be trying to measure yourself by. You should be, are you better than the last version of you?
Right?
Like, that should be the only measure of anything for you or for someone else.
I think that's something we have going for us as ladies. Because I think that we are more prepared to say, this shit happened at work and it's impacting me now, so that's something I have to figure out. I think it's less likely that we're like, oh my God, we have to figure this out right now, or I will not be a woman anymore. Like,
right.
I won't be a man anymore if I don't have the right answer. Like, I can't be less of a woman. You already made me that, so.
Oh, I don't want to end it there. We got to find
a
a high point to end it on.
Excellent. Okay. All right, I've got one.
Give me some hope, Hannah. Give me some doctor. Give me some hope, doctor.
I think that what is different from what I have read over a million different revolutions and regimes, etc., is that genuinely what keeps you alive is connection to humanity.
Mm.
And it's one of those times you just have to figure out who's actually going to be there for you, who you can call in an emergency, who you know has your back. And I think that we have the benefit of having some time to figure that out before, the fire alarm is going off.
Right.
We have time to figure out what keeps us safe and what keeps us hopeful and what the fuck we need to learn before stage next.
Well, I hope so. I like that you have optimism. I have optimism too. I have optimism that people are getting tired of the hate and the divisiveness and the othering.
Yeah.
And I have hope that people are starting to reach into their own communities and figure out what they can fix on the smaller level, because I am hopeful that the more people that fix their neighborhood, it will just keep rippling out to the rest of the world, and that the hope and the building of community will grow and spread.
Yeah, I mean, based off of 90 plus books I've read, that's our best hope.
Yeah.
I will also say, I do feel like there will be moments where we think, I can't possibly put this much effort in to the revolution or whatever. But you learn so much when you have no other option but to act.
Mm.
And again, I think what we need to know, what we need to feel, is that other people care about us. Other people want the best for us. And the best for us sometimes is growing and learning. Sometimes it's crying and hurting and letting go. But the belief that being human is enough to fight for, it's what gives me hope.
I like that. All right. Well, we're going to end it there because I don't know if I could take any more heartbreak.
Oh, no.
But I love the hope. I love that you have it. I have it. I hope that we get to spread it and infect it, and I hope that anyone that listens maybe got an insight or awareness of something they maybe haven't thought about before. And I hope that they will go into their community and kind of try to make it better.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
All we can do is keep trying.
Yeah, and being aware of our privilege.
Yeah.
And using it for the good and not for the bad.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Hannah.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for listening. I hope that you got some insights. If it made you uncomfortable, you need to go look at that. I hope you find some joy today, and we love you. Bye.
Bye.